Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 35 of Cameron's Nostalgia Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Strickland, and today I have with me Robin Walsh. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Hello, everybody.
Nice. Now, for any of the guys who don't know, Robin is a puppeteer who worked on the SpongeBob SquarePants franchise. Some
Hmm.
of the movies, including Captain Underpants, Team America, Men in Black, and many more. And also, she did some TV work for Family Guy, Crank Yankers, Bear in the Big Blue House with a Book of Pooh, Family Guy, Chowder, and Littleberg.
Hmm. Yep.
So, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
All right. Should we begin our first question?
Yes.
So, how did you get interested in puppetry?
I did not grow up with puppets as a child. I did not watch Sesame Street like a lot of other puppeteers. I saw them as, in high school, in college, on the Muppet Show. Well, in high school, on the Muppet Show. But I did grow up with the old monster movies and some of the Universal horrors. So, like Ray Harryhausen was a big idol of mine. And I loved stop motion. I also grew up in the woods, so I had a lot of free time to just imagine what the woods could be. My grandfather was an excellent old Southern style storyteller, and my mother was a part-time clown. So I grew up with an expansive imagination, and I realized very quickly that reality is what you make it, or sometimes you can make your own reality. And so I found a way to do that professionally. And I thought I would be doing stop motion. And I went to college. And on my first day of college, in my first class, I met a puppeteer. And I said, well, that's kind of the same thing as stop motion, only a lot faster. So I started getting interested in puppetry at that point, and I actually got my college degree. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Puppet Design from the University of Georgia in Athens. Go dogs. Oof. So that's kind of how I got my start. So puppets kind of found me than the other way around.
Nice. So, what was your first puppetry gig?
Well, after I got my degree, I was like, well, it was kind of a little bit self-taught. They didn't have a puppetry program at the university. So I had the good fortune of being in Georgia, and in Atlanta is a wonderful Center for Puppetry Arts, and it is the premier center for puppetry. And I started there as an intern and went straight from my internship into being their mechanical designer for puppetry. So I would work with the puppet designer and design how all the mechanics would work, because I'm a little engineer of whimsy, is what I like to call it. And so I did that and I ended up performing there as well for about 5 or 6 years. And that's how I really learned a lot about puppetry.
Okay. You have worked on the SpongeBob SquarePants franchise,
For many years.
and I saw that puppet over there.
hmm This one here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he's a puppet from SpongeBob Camp Coral that I did. What about Meep and all the sardine Meep fish? Do a little Meep song.
You should try this thing on.
Hmm?
Um, you should be able to try it on.
Oh, maybe his he's been around a bit, so his eyes might fall off, but let's give it a whirl. Let's see. There we go. Oh, yep, there they go. So he's a little rocky right now, but there he is. Whoop. I'll hold his eyes up. Meep, 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 meep. So I brought him home to fix that, but he can also be whoop. Meep. So yeah, we had him on display and his eyes fell off. So I brought him home to fix them and I haven't yet. There we go. Put his eyes sitting back there.
Mhm. And what was it like working on SpongeBob?
SpongeBob was cool. Me and the company I work for, Screen Novelties, let's see, I've got the logo there. They're a stop motion company, but they also do puppets and very puppety animation. Um, they've been working with SpongeBob since before the first movie, so a long time. We had the good luck of working with and knowing the creator, Steven Hillenburg. He was really, really great. And he trusted us to kind of interpret and work with SpongeBob as we saw fit from our point of view. He really liked it. So it was really great because we had a lot of freedom to do crazy, wacky things with SpongeBob. Because I also build a lot of the puppets or design a lot of the puppets for the stop motion that we do. Um, but I've also done anytime there's live action on something that we do, I get to do the live action puppetry. So I've done underwater Santa Claus puppets and Skin Bob, the skin of SpongeBob, of course, Skelebabb, an acorn monster, SpongeBob's brain. So it's fun in that I get to do all these wacky, weird little one-off puppet bits for them, which is wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, what was it like working on Captain Underpants?
Oh, that was a real fun one. We didn't have as much freedom as when we do like working with SpongeBob, but um my I have two boys and they were younger and they loved Captain Underpants when we did that one. So they really had a lot of fun. We were so cool. But it was cool because we got to make them sock puppets and I got to be Harold mostly. Um and me and a good friend, Amanda Maddock, was Harold. I mean, oh crap, now I forgot the other one, the other guy. And but it was cool because then we got to like play off of each other with little sock puppets. But the funnest part was doing all the robots because I tried to make the robots like if they were kids and making robots, they'd probably go to the kitchen and steal a bunch of kitchen utensils and make robots out of them. So I went to a kitchen supply store and just bought little whisks and ladles and menu cards and salt and pepper shakers and just made them into the robots. My favorite robot was Throbot, who wasn't really a puppet so much as he was just a robot who was loose. And if we needed a robot to go flying through the screen, we'd just throw him. So he's Throbot. But the best part was I got to be the Tattle Turtle, which is the little spy cam um, turtle that spies on the two of them. And we built a full bodysuit. So I was in it, and its head was huge. And so I got to wear it and bust through a wall just like the old Kool-Aid man. It was really cool. And I got to do it like two or three times, trying not to fall over and squish the people who were below me. But that was really awesome. My kids came and they watched. Everybody brought their kids the day we were shooting that because it was fun. And Weird Al did the theme song. So, win win.
Nice. So, what was it like working on Invader Zim?
Invader Zim was cool that um, it was kind of the reboot, the little movie later. And we were really busy. So, a friend of mine, whom I think you've interviewed, Matthew Brooks, we sent him the designs and he built all the puppets for us. And then I got to puppeteer them. And it was just kind of fun, wacky, mostly rod puppets because the proportions are all long and thin. So you can't get a hand in there. And I love rod puppets anyway. Um, and then it was just fun figuring out wacky, crazy ways. And Screen Novelties, I think, also did some of the other realities. I think we had a costumer make little puppy clothes, and we actually had puppies on set that day. So we had puppies and puppets. Kind of fun.
Okay. You have worked on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Hmm. That was another job with Screen Novelties. And we knew one of the, I think, character designers, Craig Kellman, and he brought us in. So it was cool because we got to reinterpret all the characters as our kind of puppety stop motion and puppets. So I got to pitch like the boat captain was fishing was a puppet. And then there were like dill pickle little flapper puppets. We got to make a father and son strawberry bodysuit playing baseball, and that was a lot of fun. Um, I almost got to be the little boy in the suit, but they actually found somebody's kid to be in it. Um, but yeah, that was just fun. Anytime we do puppets over at Screen Novelties, it's always a little chaos and fun kind of gathered together, which always gives it a nice level of excitement.
Nice.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you.
what was it like working on Team America War Police?
That was crazy. It was a long shoot for a film. It was like 5 months. And it was 5 months of being directed by Cartman because Trey Parker was the main director in Matt Stone, and he does the voice of Cartman, and he sounds a lot like Cartman. Um, they expected a lot out of everybody, but they really gave a lot themselves and could match anybody for effort. And um, like Trey would direct, he would call the camera moves while he voiced two different characters, and he had little puppet RC controls for the puppet mouths and faces, so he could do like everything all at once. My job on it, because I'm very petite, and so I would be often on the floor holding the puppet down because sometimes the puppet strings would be like 5 feet or even 14 feet long, really long. So you'd have to hold them down so they wouldn't sway back and forth while they were doing the scene. So I would hold them down, turn their body, sometimes do an arm. And so I was on Kim Jong Il and the main character a lot. There were three main puppeteers, Tony Urbano, Greg Ballora, and Scott Land. I ended up being paired with Scott Land a lot. So I got to know like intuitively what he was going to do and worked with him a lot. And it was kind of fun. I got to do some of my favorite moments on that was I was in the big Panama flood scene where I had a puppet I was marionetting from above and the puppet got washed away in the water. That was really cool and dramatic. And then I got to, because I'm so small, I was in the balcony. So when Kim Jong Il gets shot, I was actually up there in the real balcony because I fit throwing his little puppet body off the edge, which was fun. I also got to have a cockroach crawl over my hand. There's a bit at the end of the cockroach, and they needed a puppeteer who wasn't squeamish about bugs. So that was me. That was fun.
I never heard of a Wilhelm scream in this movie.
Which one? In Team America?
Yes.
I I don't know if there was a Wilhelm scream. That would be nice if it were in there, but I don't know. I never listened for it for the scream.
Let's see.
I also got to see they had a what was that filmmaker's name? Michael Moore. They blew up a puppet of Michael Moore, and it was actually filled with a ham. That was kind of cool and really gross all at the same time.
You want to listen to it?
Oh, the Wilhelm scream?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Always down for a good Wilhelm scream.
You hear that?
No, I couldn't hear it. It doesn't come through the speakers, but I've heard it. I know which scream it is. One of my sons is really good at identifying the Wilhelm scream when it's used in a movie. We'll have to watch it again and see if we can spot one.
And here's my favorite
Mhm.
movie is that where Gary,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I fortunately did not have to work on that shot because I would have been under that puppet and I would have gotten really, really gross. So the main puppeteer said he didn't need anybody for that shot. Thank goodness.
yes, that was totally.
Yeah. Yep. Thank goodness. He was really nice to me that day. Didn't have to do it.
Okay,
Hmm.
so what was it like working on Men in Black?
Men in Black was cool. It was one of my first big Hollywood films. And again, Tony Urbano was one of the lead puppet captains, and he brought me in. And I did a couple of different things, one of which never made it into the movie. I was one of the tentacles on the secretary octopus aliens in the main room. Second tentacle on the right side alien, in case you're looking. And that was cool because they were in every wide shot. So we got to be there a lot of days when they were shooting in that big main office area, just as background as whatever. And the director was cool. Will Smith was really, he was really into the puppets. And the other cool thing about that, it was shot on VistaVision, kind of like baby IMAX. So I got to work with a real VistaVision camera, which was really, really cool. And then I also I was in New York, so I got to do the thumb sucking tentacle on the little baby alien that throws up on Will Smith. That was really a treat. And then there was one other puppet. They actually built the big giant cockroach alien that the main alien that Vincent D'Onofrio plays. They actually built a really cool, really giant puppet of that, but that was in the early days of computer generated effects. So they wanted to change it into CGI, but they had already built the puppets. So there was a day where we rehearsed. I was like, I think the left wrist of it because it was a lot of puppeteers and this big team. And we took it on set and we prepped to shoot the whole thing. And there was Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, everybody was there. It was the scene where the alien rises up at the very end. The first time you see him in his whole form, and then he comes up and his hand comes out and he pokes Tommy Lee Jones in the chest, and we did it. And the director was like, "Oh, it looked good," because they wanted it to not work so they could afford have a reason to go into computer. But in the end, they decided to go to computer anyway and redesign the character. So we never got to put that really amazing puppet on film. Now it was sad. It was really cool.
You want to see that scene?
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the CGI puppet. Oh yeah, there's that one. We got to throw up on him 3 times. Yep. Yep, there we go. 3 times. And then right at the end, his little thumb comes in. That's me. My parents are so proud.
What was the vomit made of?
I was not involved in the vomit making for that one. That was the effects company who did all of that. So they would know, not me. And I
Okay,
don't actually know what the vomit from Team America was either.
mhm. Okay, from moving on from film, you got to work on
Hmm.
television.
Yep.
You have worked on the 85th Academy Awards.
Hmm. Yep. That one I didn't perform. That was the one where Moana was up and it was up for best song. So I made these giant, like 14-foot tall, 15-foot wide dance silks that were the water. And then they had 12 dancers performing them. So I built the silks for the art director, and then I worked with the choreographer and the dancers so they knew and learned how to use them. And it came out pretty good. It was a little dramatic because one of them got a little too close to the singer and she almost got hit in the head, but she kept singing, didn't miss a beat. Didn't actually get hit, it just looked like it. But that one was really fun because I got to go to rehearsals and there was The Rock, there was um, just a bunch of different people from the Oscars, like running their bits and stuff. And the girl who did Moana, the voice for Moana, was like 16, 17. She was amazing, really, really lovely, really, really talented. And John Manuel Miranda was there introducing. That was cool. And that was the second time I've done the Oscars, actually. If you want to
Nice.
know about the first time, Seth MacFarlane was the host, and that was the year Flight, the movie where the pilot drinks a little and he ends up saving the plane by flying it upside down, which is a little crazy. But so what we did is we recreated the movie Flight with sock puppets, and then for the flight, the airplane turning over, they just shot socks in a dryer, through the glass, and that was the joke. And that one was really cool. So I got to actually perform. It was all shot on video ahead of time, but so my performance was on the Oscars. That was cool. So I figure the next time I do the Oscars, I will get to be on stage rather than video or something I made. We'll see.
All right. You, what was it like working on the 100 Things to Do Before High School?
That was cool. That was another sock puppet. I turns out I've done a bunch of sock puppets. That one was cool. We just made recreations of each of the main characters. And what was cool about that one was we got to go on set. And so the actors were there and they got to see their likeness. The sock puppet of the main girl, actually, we took her to the trailer and the hairstylist actually styled the hair of the sock puppet, which was kind of funny. But that was fun. And the actors just loved it when we went with all their little likenesses.
Nice. So, what was it like working on Family Guy?
Family Guy was cool. I ended up doing two or three, I lost count, things. It was with Seth MacFarlane again. He really likes puppets. Yay. Um, One of the main things we did like a Lois puppet, and there was a little puppet scene, kind of like television style, so the big puppets over the head. And then I did another one with some beefy guy whose name I forget. But my favorite was we did King Stewie, which is where Stewie had a fantasy where he was King Friday from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And that one was cool. So it was a little hand puppet that I did. And the fun fact was I had just had my first child like a week before. So I was sitting down the whole time for that one.
Do you still have the puppets?
Most of the puppets, or a lot of them, go to the production company, but sometimes they don't need them, or we made multiples. Sometimes, like meat, we have the pattern, so we want one for display, so we may make another one and put it in the Screen Novelties office for display. So I've got very few of the puppets that I've done for television or movies. Um, but I've got a lot of my own, which like this guy here and those over here. Um, that's a lot of my theater puppets. I have a lot of those. But the television puppets, they tend to keep. Like a lot of them are anything for SpongeBob, Nickelodeon keeps, and then when we need it, we'll actually bring it out of storage. They have a really great archive and storage area, so we'll bring them out and use them again. Sometimes we keep them in case they need to do anything with them. It's kind of a give and take.
Nice. Do you have a behind the scenes footage or photos of Family Guy?
Um, I do not know actually. I don't think so because I was puppeteering, so I know I couldn't take any. If I did, they'd probably be buried somewhere on a hard drive. Probably knowing me, unlabeled.
Okay. So, what was it like working on Chowder?
Chowder was a load of fun. We were friends with the creator, so he gave us a lot of freedom in designing the puppets and figuring out how they'd work. Um, and so one nice thing about that is Screen Novelties again did all the stop motion, and I helped build some of the puppets, but I also designed and built the puppets. And one thing that often happens when you're taking a animated character or any kind of pre-designed character and turning it into a puppet that's like a television style over the head is you got to fit a hand through it. So it can throw the proportions off. And with Chowder, Mung was such a cool design with that big head to a little tiny neck and a little body. We really didn't want to change that proportion. So we got to make him a rod puppet. And so I performed Mung. So he was just a rod, a lot like the rats in the Muppet Show. So he's one of that. So there was no hand inside him. Where a friend, BJ Geyer, performed Chowder. And the other puppets, where we made some of the other characters, we had BJ Geyer make the puppets, and then we both puppeteered. And then it was fun. We got to do crazy things. Like they wanted a cat. So we brought in our cat and put the cat in the show. And so if you see a gray cat, her name was Katie. So it was just a lot of fun.
Yes. I wish BJ Geyer would be on my podcast.
I haven't seen him in ages, or I'd give you his info right now.
Nice. Moving on from Chowder, what was it like
Mhm.
working on Whoopi's Littleberg?
Whoopi's Little Bird was cool. Whoopi is great. We were able to bond over our mutual love of old cartoons, especially Fleischers. Um, I got that one in a kind of a strange, cool way. It was made by a company, I think, from Canada, and they came down to New York to shoot. But then they had all their puppeteers, but then I'm not sure exactly the reason, but they needed a different puppeteer for Tiger Jane, little purple cat from Whoopi, the mayor of Littleburg. And at that time, I was living in New York, but my husband lives still in LA. So I flew back and forth a lot. And I flew to LA because I had some time off the week after. And as soon as I land, I have a call waiting on me from the puppet captain of Littleburg saying they needed a puppeteer who was available and had very small hands. Well, I'm very tiny. So they said, well, can you be in New York Monday morning at 8 a.m.? I said, yeah. So I literally turned around, got a flight Sunday, landed at LaGuardia at 6 a.m., and then took a taxi over to the soundstage. They fit Tiger Jane on my hand because they were already ready to shoot. And I just walked over, put the cat in Whoopi's lap. We sang a song together. And then I said, oh, hello, I'm Robin. I'm your new Tiger Jane. So I got to do the song, sit in her lap before I even met Whoopi, which was kind of crazy and kind of cool. And then it was just a fun. There were great people on that one. I wish it had gone more, but she was also Whoopi was doing Ma Rainey's Black Bottom on Broadway. So it was great. She got tickets for anybody who wanted to go. So I got to go see her on Broadway. That was a little bonus, but it was fun.
I never noticed that movie mistake.
Which one? Oh, oh, that's probably my head. Yep,
Yes.
that looks like my head. It's always a fun game to play on that style of puppeteering. It's like spot the heads. Can you identify that head?
So you're puppeteering Tiger Jane.
Yes. And because I'm so small, they even made me a little special wooden box that would make me the same height as the other puppeteer playing the little pig character. And I have it here somewhere, and it's still labeled TJ's box. So it was mine. I still use it to this day. It's a perfect little tiny apple box.
Do you have her?
No, she went with, it was another like television shows. Usually the production company keeps everything and they, not sure what happens to them after the fact. It varies. Sometimes the creator gets them. Often they're just put into storage and people forget where they are. But no, I don't have Tiger Jane.
Okay. The Grogs made Littleberg.
They made which one?
Um, I know the creators who did that was
Uh-huh.
the Grogs from Canada.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I haven't seen episode 3.
Hmm. I don't even know if I have them. I probably have them somewhere.
Do you have behind the scenes photos and footage of Littleberg?
That I don't know. A lot of TV shows don't want you to take behind the scenes footage, so I don't think I have anything from there.
Okay. What was it like working on Crank Yankers?
Crank Anchors was cool. I mostly was a puppet builder, so I got to build, and on my job, it was on the first iteration of Crank Anchors from like the second, third season. And I got to build all the crazy, weird puppets that did one like little jokes, visual jokes. I also puppeteered a little bit. It was fun. It was just the pace was really, really fast. And but it was fun doing the if you got to do some of the background, like there was a lot of taking of stuffed animals like cats or dogs and turning them into quick puppets to do joke, like just sitting there cleaning their paw, doing some joke in the background. One of my favorite puppets was I got to build an ostrich that got its head cut off. So it looked a little perturbed in the background. Because the calls got so weird, it lets you really make a bunch of weird stuff. That was cool.
And I used to watch Bear
Hmm.
in the Big Blue House when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
And what was it like working on that show?
That show I got only got to work on for one episode. I was lucky enough to do that. But I knew everybody on it and I was on the set. It was just Noel McNeil, who played Bear, is such a treasure to the puppetry community. And his character of Bear and his presence really made a fun place to work, at least whenever I was there. And I'm sure it was that way all the time. And it was just such a fun show. And they're such great people, love working with Noel any chance I get. But, now I'm in LA, so doesn't happen a lot.
And you got to work on the Book of Pooh.
Yes, I worked a lot on the Book of Pooh. I was on the build crew for that. So I built Tigger and I also assisted build on Piglet and Roo, a little bit of Kessie, the little bluebird. And then I was mostly on Piglet and Roo and a little bit of Kessie for puppeteering. So I really like that show because it's tabletop puppetry. So you have three people, somebody on the head and body, somebody on the arms, and then somebody on the feet, which because I'm so small, I fit under the table really, really well. So I did a lot of footwork. But I love working on a multi-person puppet. I love how you can get like three different people to just kind of join together to become this one single character. And it's a skill that I drew on it a lot for Team America when I was way down below the main marionette artist. But I could just go with, I just know, I had to know which way he was going to turn. And so I just like that style, any style where you get to really feel out another performer and work together so intimately, even if you're 15 feet apart. And that I got to do a lot of in Book of Pooh. And Book of Pooh was really cool. The creator, Mitchell Kriegman, had a real knack for finding people with really good talent and mixing them with other people with other skills. So you had a lot of theater people, theater puppeteers who knew how to do this tabletop style with like television people who were much more skilled at working the camera. And he was able to put them together and create this amazing show.
Nice. Moving on from TV to the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
You worked on
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I was a bowl of mashed potatoes with a suitcase. Yeah, I did excellently. It was really fun. Didn't get any Kentucky Fried Chicken though. Smelled it, wanted to eat it, but you couldn't eat it. But yeah, so
And you
that's what I love about commercials. You get to be weird things.
and you did the zombies and corn pops.
Oh yeah, that was another Screen Novelties job. They had this really cool commercial for corn pops where you had a corn pop taking a shower in milk. Um, but it was like a horror movie. So these zombie milkmen were coming for, and they were marionettes about this big with glowing eyes, and there were also little tiny rod ones. We did two versions, like teeny tiny for a wide shot. But it was cool. We had two zombie milkmen, and we just shot them over and over to make multiples. That one was really cool.
You have worked on Snappalopes.
Oh, Snappalopes is one of my favorite commercials. It was really strange. It was Slim Jims, and they had an advertising campaign where we made antelopes out of Slim Jims. So it was actual Slim Jim wrappers, and we made fake Slim Jims to put in them. But we had like one Slim Jim for the back and two for the front legs, two for the back legs, like one for the head and neck, and then two for antlers. And they were running around the 7-Eleven or convenience store, and the actors would try to catch them. And that was the commercial. And so we would be, staying up all night inside a convenience store, puppeteering little antelope Slim Jims around. It was great. It was weird, but it was great.
You have worked on Carvel.
Oh, that was one. That one I did in New York, and Carvel is an ice cream store in the East Coast, on the East Coast, maybe the north part. And they're famous for ice cream cakes. And their ice cream cakes are kind of weird. They have a chocolate ice cream cake called Fudgy the Whale that looks like a chocolate whale. But then they also have this one that's kind of like a upside down ice cream cone named Cookie Puss that's theoretically a space alien. And I worked with Rick Lyons on this one, and he made two um, ice cream cake puppets, Cookie Puss and Fudgy, and then we puppeteered them. And what was cool is one member of Devo did the music, and another member of Devo directed them. So that was cool. I got to work with Devo, like two parts of Devo. Again, no
Yes.
ice cream to eat though.
I wish Rick Lyon would be on my podcast.
Yeah, Rick is awesome. Also in New York. Haven't seen him in forever.
You have worked on Snapple.
That was actually, I got my SAG card, my union card. I was a space going bottle of Snapple tea. Although I can't find a copy of that commercial anywhere. So that's the one I don't have a copy of, I don't think. Or Carvel. I'll have to look these up.
Okay. You have worked on Budweiser.
Oh, yeah, I got to. When I first started in Hollywood, I worked at a prop shop And I was the only puppet person there. So anytime they got a job with puppetry, I got to do it. So I got to do one of the first big Budweiser commercials that used puppets, and it was a Budweiser beer bottle stolen by ants up at Vasquez Rocks, which is famous in a bunch of Star Trek and other TV shows and movies. That one was cool. I smelled a lot like beer because I got a lot of beer on me that day. But it was all day old Budweiser because if you leave beer out for a day, it doesn't bubble as much. So it won't foam over when you pour it, but it smells really bad.
Right. Moving on from commercials to theater projects, you worked
Hmm.
on The Magic Flute by Mozart.
Yeah. I did. I've done a few large scale ballets and operas. Magic Flute, I did with the Pacific Symphony down in Costa Mesa with their opera. And it was great. The director was Bob Noy. He's brilliant. And I got to build giant animals. And when I do theater, I tend to work a lot with big pieces of silk, which is what I did for the Oscars. That's how I ended up doing the Oscars because I'm known for doing like 14-foot tall silk puppetry. And so I did these big, almost life or bigger than life size animals of silk. And I did a big, like 20-foot long dragon for that one, and birds made out of feathers and pinwheels. Um, that one was really fun. I love working with orchestras. And so we had a live orchestra and live singers, and I got to create the Queen of the Night that echoed everything the singer was doing, which was excellent.
You have worked on The Forgotten Baggage.
Forgotten Baggage is one. I also do a lot of theater of my own work. I do solo shows, and Forgotten Baggage is one of my own works that I've done. I've workshopped it, and I'm slowly, too slowly perhaps, working on developing it into a full show. And it revolves around suitcases that were found of real people that were abandoned. And the people were in old, what they would call insane asylums. So the people were also somewhat abandoned. And so I did a found object piece where I would recreate these suitcases and then create a story out of what I found. Um, so I do hope I got a Jim Henson workshop grant for that one. So I do hope from the Jim Henson Foundation. I do hope to do that one again in its full form. Still very slowly working on it.
Nice. So, what about working on The Devil You Say?
Now, The Devil You Say is another one of my own pieces. And I worked with a artist, an actor and voice artist who did some voice work for us, but he was British and an amazing actor. And he had a one-man show that was 2 hours, really long. And it was called Speak of the Devil. And his name was Peter, and I'm going to forget the full name. I'll give it to you later. And it was just, he played the devil. And I loved the show and so much that I ended up getting the rights from them to do my own version. And I have a puppet devil that is a one person Bunraku who's a little bit shorter than I am. So my head does his head, and my arms do his arms, and my feet do his feet. And it's a 45-minute soliloquy where I perform the puppet, the voice actor's off to the side. I have a violin or fiddle player doing the music live. And he tries to make his point that he's not to blame for everything that's going wrong, but mankind is. And all of the text is written, actual text from the 1400s to the 1900s by sayings or words attributed to Satan. So it's from the Bible, it's from Faust, it's from all of these other written works kind of woven together. And one of my favorite bits is Adam and Eve are portrayed by Punch and Judy, as is only proper in a puppet show.
And what about dueling harps?
Dueling Harps was cool. I got brought in on that project. There's a cool artist and actor, Ann Magnuson, who sings. She had a thrasher band or punk band. I'm not sure of the exact delineation of name of style. And she also, we had a mutual friend who plays harp. And she and another friend of hers who also had a harpist friend ended up doing a riff on dueling banjos where they had dueling harps, but they would do like Smith songs with a harp or do like all of these other songs you don't expect to hear on a harp. And I kind of spiced up everything with a few puppet bits in and around. We did it here in LA at the Cal Arts Theater downtown, and then we also did it once in New York. It was great. It was so much fun to do.
And what about Romeo and Juliet?
Romeo and Juliet, I did, it was the Prokofiev ballet. And I'll talk about it at the same time as I also did Firebird. I did both of these a couple of years apart at Lively Arts up at Stanford University with their orchestra. And so I created big, like 12 to 14-foot tall puppet characters instead of dancers. So they would do the ballet and the orchestra performed usually the suite. Um, and it was really nice. It's like one of my favorite things to do when I can is just large silk puppets with a live orchestra on stage. And I don't know if it's on your list, but I just did one less than a year ago with the Pacific Symphony. I did Carnival of the Animals, which was a lot of fun. And favorite part about that one is I wrote a new narration because what a lot of people don't realize about Carnival of the Animals is it's all musical jokes. A lot of it is. Um, and most of the narrations deal about the animals. They talk about the animals. So I wrote a narration, and the whole piece revolves around the jokes and the music. And actually, some of the puppetry is shadow puppetry. And up on the screen, you have shadow puppetry of the actual music. So the music itself is woven into the show and the characters. Like there's one hens and roosters, and so the music notes come to life and become little music note hens and roosters for that bit. Um, but Romeo and Juliet and uh, the Firebird were both done up at Lively Arts at Stanford University, and it was really really nice. And Firebird was the first of my big grand scale puppet shows that I ever did, and so that one's got a place dear to my heart.
Okay, I did show you some works for Family Guy.
Okay. Oh yeah. There it is. King Stewie.
I am the supreme ruler of the neighborhood of make-believe. All will kneel before my... Ugh, what kind of freaking king lives next to the train tracks? What is this, Mexico?
Yep. Yep. That was fun. Oh, and there's blowing up the Louvre. They had to blow up the Louvre 2 times to get it right. And if you look at the behind the scenes of Team America, oh no, this is the one. Look at me. I built those. I think it was her, the black haired one. Hmm. Yeah. Then there was another one with some big muscly guy, I think, but I could be wrong. It might not have been for Family Guy. It may have been for one of Seth MacFarlane's other shows.
Alright, you have worked on the upcoming film Search for SquarePants.
mm, no, I haven't worked on Search for SquarePants. Not that I remember. We just did Sandy Cheeks Country Christmas that has it's all stop motion Christmas special with Sandy Cheeks and her family from Texas. And then there's some of the new TV shows I've worked on for SpongeBob. especially the Padgore, the little black and white, where Patrick Star is Padgore and SpongeBob is Sponge Monster and Plankton is Dr. P. He's like the evil scientist guy. Those are a lot of fun.
All right.
I get to be all kind of crazy things.
And you have a Muppet style hand puppet.
For which one?
Like we always sing Meep.
Oh, the Meep song. Yeah. That one is in a Camp Coral episode. I can't remember which one.
Hmm. Well,
Uh-huh.
would you be able to bring a hand puppet?
I don't know where. All I have right now is this guy, like a hand puppet, like one of the Henson kind of television styles, or like an actual hand puppet, like a glove puppet. I unfortunately, with the LA wildfires, we had to evacuate, and not all of my puppets have made it back here. Quite a few of them are still evacuated from the house just because I haven't had time to bring them back home. And unfortunately, I thought I had brought that box back, but they're not here. But you can see behind me, um, this is a style of puppet I use a lot in the theater, is the scarf puppet. And I've got little tiny scarf puppet earrings. So I can do a little puppet show like this. And you can see some back here as well. Um, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any of the television style outside of this guy with me at this time. And this is one of my favorite little theater marionettes that I do. His name is Exactly. And he can, he can, whoop, whoop. So he's in my one late when I do shows, I use him. Stop rocking. There we go.
All right. Robin, thanks so much for your
Yeah.
time.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
There's one other job that I really like, I like talking about, is because I work in stop motion and puppetry, and I love old styles of puppetry. And so I've studied a lot. I've actually built replica old style puppets for the Center Puppetry Arts like outreach program. Um, some of my favorite work is I got to meet and work with Ray Harryhausen, the stop motion genius, and actually build a puppet for him and restore a couple of his puppets for the work that Screenalties did on his last film, which was one of his first films getting completed, The Tortoise and the Hare. And from that, years ago in 2006, 2005, somebody found the original Santa and Rudolph puppet from the Rankin Bass Christmas specials. And a lovely man named Kevin Kreis found them and bought them and had us restore them. So I had the great honor of restoring the Santa and Rudolph from the original Rankin Bass Christmas special. So if I ever have write a biography of myself or a memoir, it's going to have to be called I Decapitated Rudolph, because I did. The puppets were in a bad, bad state. Rudolph's neck was broken, Santa's legs were broken, but we restored them in a museum style carefully, and they got sold eventually to a collector who then recently auctioned them off. And fortunately, some lovely person paid a lot of money for them, but donated them. They're on loan or on display at the Center for Puppetry Arts, where I started. So they have them out every Christmas. If you're ever in Atlanta, it's great to see. And what's really interesting for the future is there's one couple of people are trying to say that they're not the real puppets, but trust me, they did not restore them, and I restored them, and I'm a puppet historian. I know my old puppets. So They're really great to look for and to look at. And parts of them were renewed. Like I had to renew. I made a new nose for Rudolph. The old one was a custom made light bulb that was put in there. And I made a little LED bulb for him. And I had to make Santa clean up his beard, give him new eyebrows. But that job was really, really cool. Because you don't think when you're, like 5 or 12 and you're watching this, that one day you will get to help save their lives for the future, which is kind of fun.
All right, there's a picture of you,
Mm-hmm.
and there's you.
Oh, uh-huh. Kind of hard to see on my end. So which picture is it of? Me and oh yeah, that's me with TJ. Haha. Nice. Oh, I love that picture. Where'd you find that?
In lostmediawiki.com.
Oh, cool. I will check it out. I'm so much younger then.
Okay, stay tuned for there'll be more guests coming up. Until next time, peace.
Thank you. Bye-bye.